teams and rain-out dates and trying to coordinate communication with coaches and parents and students and teachers, and I think oftentimes unappreciated for the complexity of the work that he does and how dedicated he is night and day, whatever time, whenever he's asked. So please give a very special welcome. Congratulations, big welcome.
Well, sometimes being athletic director, you have to juggle a lot, and there's a lot of many different things that are very difficult and a lot of challenges. But one thing that isn't as challenging for us as it is for other schools is in our district getting to the state Final Four. Because Maharishi School has now done it 10 years in a row, that means all the other schools in our district are facing a very daunting challenge to get through Maharishi School to get there. And many years they come with t-shirts saying, you know, this is the year they're going to get through. But unfortunately, and due to the depth and our wonderful boys on our team and our great coaches, they have not been able to get through there. And so that's a tremendous achievement. We'll be going through a number of the different achievements that we've had that are really records in the state. And as Coach Iyer just mentioned to me, even records that we might be second or third in the state, that's because we didn't start playing tennis until 1988. Many of the schools that have a couple of more victories or something like that over us, we might be second, for instance, in singles titles, we're second, but the team that has the record started playing tennis in 1929. So, you know, if you take a look at the state and many of the things that we've accomplished starting in 1988, we are really in a league of our own. And one of the reasons that we're in a league of our own is because of the gentleman and his wife and who started the program here at Maharishi School, and that is Lawrence Iyer. Lawrence, along with his wife Lori, began the program for both our boys and our girls. Boys began in 1988, and since then we've had those 15 championships. This is the year that we've actually added to them, the first time since 2002, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more as we introduce some more people. But I wanted to just say a few words about Lawrence and many of his accomplishments, and I'd like to talk about it more on the level of the heart. It's just amazing what Lawrence has done, what it's taken to organize, to have that type of tradition at a school. Maharishi School is really the envy in our tennis program of every school in Iowa, probably. There have been many accolades that have gone to Lawrence. Wherever you go, and there are other tennis programs, everyone knows about Lawrence and the accomplishments that he's had with Maharishi School, but it doesn't happen without organizing lessons for the boys, having a proper season, proper rest, always having enough people that are playing tennis. There's so many different variables that go into creating the tradition and the success of our program, and no one has been more responsible for that than Coach Iyer. Coach Iyer actually in 2009 was given the USPTA, United States Professional Teachers Tennis Association, National High School Coach of the Year. And so that is an incredible honor that went to Lawrence from his peers. Under Lawrence, we had 4 state titles in teams, 7 state runner-ups, a number of third-place finishes, 205, 207, 208, runner-up in 202, in 1992, 97, 98, 206, 209, 210, and 211. One thing that's really been amazing about our team and some of the things that Lawrence has done, we have 10 consecutive Final Fours. But in those 10 times until this year, we had not won a state title in singles, doubles, or team. Which means that even without the best players in the state, we were able to have this incredible accomplishment, which means kids come, they learn how to play tennis, they may not be the top athletes in the state, yet we're able to have that type of accomplishment, which is incredible. So without any further ado, I'd like to ask Lawrence to come up and say a few words.
I know the picture they're going to show, so get it over with. It's from 1965, and there are 3 grinning, buzz-cut boys from Rock Island to Moline who were champions and runners-up in a Quad Cities tennis tournament. The oldest one with glasses is 16. Next to him on the left is a 13-year-old who actually started the tennis program with me in 1988 here at the Army Briggs. And the diminutive young man to his left. I say that now because I am the oldest and the shortest by far. Is Steve Briggs, the coach. That we none of us had much hair back then. It was the style, it wasn't the necessity. We didn't know we'd all end up still keeping with tennis, but we did. We didn't know at that time we'd all learn transcendental meditation, but we did. And we didn't know that we'd all end up in a town of 9,500 teaching and coaching together. And yet that happened. And so it's been a great wave to have been able to ride and to be part of. And I thank both Briggs brothers for making it possible. It's been a great run. We went to rival high schools, but I had the good fortune of being old enough I didn't have to play them. So there are lots of memories, and I don't want to belabor, but I do remember the first match we ever played. Matt Molyneux, Avery's dad, was on our team in 1988, and we had exactly 6 boys to play. And our very first match, one of us was not at school that day, home sick, and so we had to get in the van and drive to Albia. It was about 45 degrees, miserable day, in early April of 1988. And as we arrived, being short in players, we walked out of the van behind 0-2. We didn't have a number 6 singles player or a number 3 doubles team. And so it fell upon us that we had to win 7, of the 7 matches we actually could play, we had to win 5 in order to win. Well begun is half done. We won 5 of the 7 matches. And that was the start, that was the seed form. Our 4th season was the very first state championship, and we rode around town the same way you guys just did, and it's on videotape, VHS, I hope it's preserved. And lots of big smiles. People said, we're getting cramps from smiling, Coach. I said, smile on. But the night before we played the Final Four, we met one of our rivals. We met the team we would play the following morning in a family restaurant. And the young man from their squad came over and rather sneeringly demanded to know how big was our school anyway. And we said, well, about 40 or 50 kids. Well, that's not even as big as ours in your class. And he walked back to his booth to eat with his teammates, and I turned to the guys and said, it only takes 6. We beat him the next morning 7-2. And we beat Red Oak in the finals 5-2, which was yesterday's score as well. So we're just delighted that there's been that continuity. What really has made it happen is that there's a continuity of silence that all of our players and coaches and everyone in the community who supported us so well all these decades now contacts on a regular basis. There is one quotation I said back that very first state championship year. It's from Maharishi. I'd like to say it now, and then I'll defer to the people who should be speaking. If we think of defeat, that's what we get. If we're undecided, then nothing will happen for us. We must just pick something great to do and do it. Never think of failure at all, for as we think now, that's what we get. Well, Steve and his assistant Luke, whom I taught word of wisdom to when he was 4 years old, who was on our 2008 Final Four team and got third in the state in doubles. They have brought a great group of guys through a series of great challenges, and they've come out on the happy side. So congratulations to all of you. I'm just delighted at being part of the tradition that you've capstoned today.
Somewhere along the line during Lawrence's tenure as a coach, there was another major development. I can remember a time when the nearest tennis courts were where the assembly hall is now, or the recreation center is, and they were pathetic. And there were some other courts behind the junior high where they are now. There were some courts by the old, by the high school. But then the Punch family, decided to fulfill a vision and a dream and donated, a substantial amount to create the Punch Tennis Center, our outdoor courts, which are really beautiful facilities, really high quality. So I just want tonight to recognize them. I understand they may be out on a college visit, and I know it's also hard having had Gobi get all the way to the finals and lose there to come out tonight for this event. But we all owe the Punch family a great indebtedness. So I hope when all of you see that, Dorian said that during the state tournament, a number of people did come up after the singles finals and said, thank them for what they had done to create that facility. So let's all as a community recognize. I think that any of us that have been athletes could testify that along with having natural skills and having supportive parents and having great coaches and good facilities and all that, one of the other special ingredients in bringing out full athletic ability is having a good, talented opponent. And I really do believe that Gobi has pushed Sam to improve his game to another notch, and so I think we all should also congratulate Gobi Punch on his runner-up. So as you all know, when Lawrence retired, it was enormous shoes to fill, and once again it fell to our athletic director Rig to try to figure that out and see what was going to happen. So I'm going to ask Rig to introduce our current head coach, and I know he's already well known to you, but we'll say a few more things and have a couple more pictures here. Rig.
It was definitely a challenge when Lawrence retired. And the question was, how is it ever going to be possible to keep the continuity of our program going, and to really, have the kind of leadership and skill and all those types of things that help keep a program successful. And it wasn't obvious right at the time, and so it did take a little while to figure it out. One of the things we were doing when a couple of us were sitting and thinking about the continuity of the program, just to give some idea of continuity in a long-term program, we were thinking about what our program might look like in 15 years from now. And we realized we were talking about players that hadn't been born yet. So on the high school level, it's amazing how quickly things change. You never know if someone who's 4 years old or 8 years old. You have a couple of girls that are playing tennis when they're coming to the rec center every Friday. They're only in 3rd grade and 2nd grade. Who's going to be that next person that's going to really do it? So it's important that someone who takes over our program, even if it's for a few years, is someone that really has the skills to do that. And Steve was in the community. He wasn't sure if he was going to be staying. There was some question about moving to Hilton Head or someplace like that, but Hawaii. Anyway, at some point, it became clear. Steve did a little work for us with the junior high, and it turned out he couldn't sell his house as quick as he wanted to. And there were a few things, and before we knew it, Steve was saying, you know what, I'll give it a crack. They're big shoes to fill, but I'd love to. I know that some of the guys that are coming up. I'd just like to, before I invite Steve up, I'd just like to read some of Steve's qualifications, and they're pretty amazing. So you realize that when we got someone to take over our program, it was someone who really had a lot of experience in the field of tennis. And I have to read here on my phone here, ranked 14th in U.S. singles. At one point was ranked 4th in U.S. doubles, 3-time Missouri Valley champion, ranked number 1 singles and doubles in the Missouri Valley. 3 years member of the varsity team at the University of Arizona, where the team won 3 conference titles and had 3 top 10 NCAA finishes. Won numerous junior and men's doubles titles with his brother DeArmond. He was director of the junior development program at the Kleiper Club, Hamburg, Germany. Head coach at the Vic Braden Tennis College, Gonlar, Germany. And prior to yesterday, and he makes a point of this, he was the only member of his family who hadn't won a state title in Iowa, because his dad was a member of the Boone team that won the state title. Boone is where our Iowa High School Association is located. They won the state title in 1942. So what better tradition? And it's amazing when you think of Lawrence, his wife Lori, Coach Briggs, his brother Coach Briggs, DeArmond, they're all from Iowa. So wherever you go in Iowa, there's somebody in Iowa who plays tennis who remembers the Briggs family, the Iyer family when they were kids. It's just an incredible tradition. Nature is just shining on us in the state of Iowa. So it's been really fun coaching with Coach Briggs this year, a wonderful gentleman. And so without further ado, Coach, please.
Since we got back from Des Moines, obviously the buzz has been around Triple Crown. But just as important to me, and I know it's just as important to Lawrence, is that these 6, 7 guys and all the other guys on the team, it's never been about me. It's always been about us. And these guys, they come to practice every day. They've worked hard every day. They've done what we've asked them to do every day, and sometimes we've asked them to do a lot. Like, there's a hill over there, go do 10 hills. Then they get down, go do 10 more. And we had established sort of a mission for this team, and to be honest, my hope was that it was going to happen last year. But you got to think big, and fortunately, it's happened now. And I really believe that it's happening. It happened this weekend in Waterloo and in Des Moines, because the guys sincerely care about each other. They really love each other. It's a really fun thing to be in a band, driving. And most of the time, it's an incredible experience. They spend most of the time singing, or they're doing impressions, or Suri is pretending he's Louis Armstrong. It's just you really got to be there. And I know sometimes the parents, they're waiting for their match. It's the biggest match of the year, and they're back there doing some falsetto thing with 4 of them. And somebody says, Coach, you got to get the is serious. And I can only say, we got this far doing this, so I'm going to stay out of the way of these guys. And I know we're in the midst of some pretty heavy hitters out here. I'm looking over here, and there's Tyler Cleveland. Biggest serve, biggest forehand, biggest game in the history of Iowa. And I'm one of his biggest fans because I got to play him when he still wasn't that big, when he was like 14 and he was still awesome. And he won 3 singles titles for us, a Big Ten champion, ATP Tour, and this is kind of a fun story for me because I'm sitting there watching Govey play a lesser match in the first day in Waterloo at the State. He was playing maybe second round. And 2 coaches in front of me were they were talking about the greats that have played in the tournament. And one guy, and I hadn't said a word, they didn't know who I was. And the one guy said, I think Narn Clark is the greatest player I've ever seen on these courts at Burns Park. Now, Narn's one of us, but two times state singles, 1 time state part of the Triple Crown both times. I'm not the historian. Anyway, are we on? Okay. So I couldn't resist. I said, excuse me guys, have you ever seen Tyler play? Tyler Cleveland? You were ahead of those guys. They hadn't come on the scene yet. I said, well, and one of the guys said, well, didn't he play for Iowa? I said, well, he won the Big Ten for Iowa. So, okay. So I was sort of tooting our horn, and I said, by the way, you see the guy out on the court out there? That's Govey Punch. Tyler plays him left-handed. So I won't embarrass you anymore about Tyler, but that's all true. I mean, I've seen him. I coach down there, and Tyler coaches Govey next door at the rec center, and it's amazing that a guy can play with the wrong hand and still compete with a state runner-up. I mean, I can barely hit the ball over the net with my left hand, so that's enough said on that. I do want to do a shout out for the Armin. I wouldn't even be a decent player without Yarman, and probably vice versa. I think we played each other once, maybe twice a day for 10 years. There was no one else really that could give us a game, and I know Tyler knows that from his, working out with Kyle and so on. And that's the way it is in small Midwest towns. If you don't have anybody to play tennis with, you got to go play golf. You have to have a worthy opponent, and it's just the way it is. But Yarman and I, we had incredible times as doubles partners, as competitors. We were seen rolling on the grass a few times after a tough set of tennis. But we were kids and we loved it. And got to play college tennis with Yarman. Yarman was the second state champion in our family, and I remember him playing in the Illinois state doubles finals. And I remember the director of the tournament putting like a ball boy behind the fence because Yarman was smashing somebody over down and over the fence, like 8 or 10. It just kept happening, and finally I said, just stay over there. And he didn't have a great partner, but he didn't need a great partner. And it was like, that was pretty cool to see your older brother do that. Then he ran off to a Big Ten school, left me without a practice partner. But fortunately, when I got the opportunity to go to the University of Arizona, I said, hey coach, I got a great brother who can play. And he's outgrown Michigan State's program, and he said, bring him down, we'll try him out. And Yarman shot way past me in his accomplishments. He finished Final Four in the NCAA. He was All-American in '74. And he didn't know it until a few years ago. The coach transferred, no one told him until Yarman went down to help his doubles partner be enshrined in the Hall of Fame in Arizona, Rand Evitt. So, I'll leave it with one more comment. Yarman also won the U.S. National Amateur Grass Court. So we brought him in as a private, that was in doubles, and he brought him in to help our doubles teams. And Yarman worked a lot over the years with Surrey and has helped Solaris, and we kind of got them jump started, and you know where that's gone. So that was really fun to see. People say, well, have you ever beaten your brother? I just answer in public, no. So in 1971, I had a practice partner, friend. He ended up being like Lawrence and Yarman and I, a fellow TMer, and his dad was the athletic director at the University of Iowa. His name was Bruce Nagel. Bruce, in 70, won the Iowa State 2A singles championship pretty easily. He was a highly ranked Mo Valley player and so on and so on. And Bruce, when he graduated, he started teaching tennis in Wakanda Club in Des Moines, and every summer he'd go over and hang out in Salisbury with Rig and Maharishi. And, you know, Bruce still had the desire to be a tennis, to continue playing tennis, and one day he was talking to Maharishi, and he said, Maharishi, I'm, you know, a good tennis player, but I don't know whether I should just keep playing or stop playing, or what do you think? And Maharishi just kind of looked at him over and he said, do you win trophies? And Bruce said, yeah, I win trophies. He said, then keep playing. So I think the same truth, the same wisdom goes for these guys, because I'll tell you, every time we came back from anywhere, banners, plaques, medals, trophies, all season long. I was like their caddy carrying all this hardware around. And you know, they've got, how many of these you guys got? It's just Pella and Cedar Rapids and district and sub-state and state individual and state teams. So, you know, all these things, they were winning them, and they're winning them in a humble way. And I tell you how humble it was, and how humbling it was for me to hear this other story. This one was in Des Moines yesterday. Avery, come on up, Avery. Absolutely. Sprint. We invented team relay sprints because I knew Avery wouldn't want to let his teammates down. But let him run on his own. He's a jogger. Okay. So, great player. So we're in Des Moines, and I'm standing there watching Decorah beat up St. Edmunds, which I couldn't have been happier for, because we were off the court in 68 minutes, according to some newspaper article. And these teams played for 4.5 hours, so I thought, finally, advantage Maharishi. Yeah. And so we're sitting there, and I went over, I saw the Decorah team, and they had a really nice energy about them. They were not trying to defend their defending state championship position, which St. Edmunds was, and they were younger, and they were really vital, and they were sprinting around and diving for balls. One guy did a couple rolls on one shot. It's pretty amazing. Their coach is, how old is he? He's old. I guess I got 10 years left in this. Anyway, I highly recommend you don't start coaching at age 60. Seriously, I mean, it does make you younger, but it also, I lost whatever was up there. It's all gone. So, this lady turns to me, and somehow she knew I was with Maharishi's team, but she didn't know I was the coach. And she says, "You're with Maharishi's team?" And I said, "Yeah, these are our guys, yeah. And we hope we play you." And she says, "I hope we get to play you too, because my son played one of your boys in Cedar Rapids in the Warrior Challenge." And he said, "That was the nicest guy I've ever played tennis against, and I didn't even win a game." That boy was Surrey Asani. I learned a big lesson that, I'm thinking I gotta make these guys tougher. I gotta give them the killer instinct. He's killing them with love. So, in the state finals, this is the doubles finals, Solaris and Surrey are over there playing St. Edmunds' team. And, we're scouting them for all kinds of reasons at that point. This was before the team event. And the one guy, they're like 4 out of the 5 guys are football players. They're defensive ends, they're running backs. These guys make our guys look on the slender side. So, you know, they've all got chiseled faces, you know, they're adults. And so, this one guy goes running back for a ball, and you know, the thing these days is, because Roger Federer does, everybody's got to hit the tweeners. Now, Sticks has got the best tweener I've ever seen, but this guy tried to pull off a tweener and just about ended his chance of fatherhood. And here's Surrey, and Surrey goes, "Are you okay?" It's like charging over the end, because the guy crashed. Did he crash in defense? Yeah. I mean, he really practically ended his chance at winning the tournament. And I could see, you know, Surya wasn't just kind of doing lip service, he seriously was concerned. So that, you know, these kind of things make an impression on a coach, and I realized that, you know, I don't want to make these guys into something they're not. If I can help them with some things, like, you know, help them finish a match without any nerviness, that kind of thing, then that's an achievement. But, you know, they're built differently than Lawrence and Yarman and my generation were built. We were built on, you know, other principles. Kill them, you know, kill them. And if he gets up, kick him down, you know, that kind of thing. So, I'm serious. My basketball nickname by the football team was Animal. That was the deal. But, you know, we all grow and we all improve, and these guys, I couldn't have coached these guys when I was coaching in another era. I couldn't have coached them when I was 25 because, you know, my style then, I was, you know, doing what everybody did back then, screaming at my kids. I got some kids into D1 school, but it was a different generation. So my biggest concern getting out here with these guys is, you know, am I completely out of touch with where they're at? And I realized after a few trips in the van that yes, I am completely, you know. One day we got up at 7 a.m., we're in the van, and Ranger plugged in some CD, I don't know, it was just unbelievable at 7 a.m. It's like, now I know what my parents didn't, you know, want us listening to the Beatles. So let's get around to what really went on this weekend, because I'm sure there are gaps in everybody's understanding. But we get to Waterloo, and Sam, our flagship player, he had a tough situation. You know, Govey knocked him out in district, which meant he had the toughest possible draw coming into state as a runner-up. And he went through 3 of the 4 seeds, and another guy who was a candidate for a seed in the tournament. He went through them one after another. On the second day, Sam played the number 1 seed, and the guy just ran Sam ragged. Left, right. He didn't hit the ball very hard, but he could hit it deep, and he could hit it to corners, and Sam was, I thought, out of gas toward the end of the match, and I was just hoping it didn't go 3 sets. Sam, you know, hung tight, won the match, sat down on the bench next to Dia, took his shoes off, and I'm thinking, does this guy have it, what he needs for Govey? Because I've been watching Tiger work Govey. I know Govey's, as a freshman, Govey was the only man standing, you know, in the district when 3 other guys cramped. Sam cramped, and Sean Sapezi cramped, and the Japanese guy couldn't even get up, he cramped, and these guys were 3 years older than Govey. So I know Govey's got stamina, so I'm thinking, you know, this is dicey because Sam was looking a little bit punch drunk at the end of that match with the number 1 seed. Somehow in an hour, and I kept saying, Dia, what went on there? Because he got out on the court. I never saw him move better. I never saw him play with less anxiety. I never saw him play with better shot selection. And frankly, the last 2 weeks, that was the major battle. I said, you know, it's a trap, Sam. All this only offensive stuff, it's a trap. You've got to play defense to beat Govey. You've got to handle his big forehand and whatever. And he got it. He just got it at the right time, and he came out. And, you know, it was really a joy to watch. All I did was sit back and watch and enjoy the show. You know, I just pat him on the back, just don't do anything different, just keep, you know, pedal to the metal and run through. And he played a superb match. And that's never easy, whether it's your first state title or your second, you're playing your rival since you're 12 years old. it was a great match, a fun match. You know, Gobi's, as someone said, Gobi's, as Richard said, Gobi's pushed Sam, Sam's pushed Gobi, and they got another year of this thing to go through. I'd like to get them on the same team one day and see how that worked out, but anyway, Sam prevailed, and that was leg one of the Triple Crown. So, Sam, you know, you got this started. And I want to go back just a few months and say that last August, Sam was playing the best tennis of his life. He was whipping up on one of the top guys from Iowa City West, and they're three-time two-way state champs, and he hurt his back. And the doctors said no tennis for 4 months, 4.5 months, and he didn't touch a racket until like the middle of February, and the team season started mid-March. In the best of situations, you'll see professional athletes, whether they're basketball or any sport, they take a lot of time to come back from a serious injury. And this was a serious injury. Whether he could train the way he wanted to, I didn't know whether he could, and I just didn't want. I was like, how hard can we push him? But he came back, and it's a testament to Sam's fortitude and his conviction and his love of tennis, that by mid-April he was starting to round into shape, and literally by the finals of the state tournament, I thought he hit his stride full big time. So, you know, Sam, I give you a huge credit. I know Tyler's gone through injury. I missed most of my senior year of basketball with an ankle injury, and it was just a devastating thing for me to be on a top 10 team in Illinois and not even be able to go out there because I was on crutches. So that kind of perseverance, I think, deserves our enormous respect, and we appreciate that you got where you got this year and won the first leg of our Triple Crown. You know, when Lawrence, did you call Lawrence? Did he call you? Yeah. So Lawrence was on the line, and Richard handed me the phone. I really wasn't sure, and then I heard Lawrence's voice, and I got choked up immediately. I said, Lawrence, I just witnessed what Sam did for us and for himself and for the school, and I said, you know, it's just knowing what he went through, I was really proud. You've probably heard this before, but doubles teams are not that much different than marriages. Some teams make it, and some don't. Surrey and Solaris were married for a fresh 2 years. Okay, so sophomore year they were an item. Then they decided to go to other partners, and then they just teamed up again 2 months ago. And you know, their teammates affectionately refer to them as the Sun Boys. Solaris, Surrey, and Hindi is, of course, we know Sun, Surrey, Namaskar. And so there was always shout outs when we're practicing, "Go Sun Boys, go Sun Boys." And as a coach, I'm trying to decide whether the Sun Boys are a match or not a match as a team. You know, that's my job, and I got lots of opinions, you know, and expert opinions. And I'm thinking, all right, I really seriously care what Yarman thinks. I seriously care what Lawrence thinks, and I respect what everyone else thinks. But I really don't. I got to go with the brain trust. Because my brain's getting out of the sun a lot, you know, and I want some other opinions. And my guys said they look good to us, and I thought they look good to me too. I'm not going to say they were an odd couple because, you know, but they started complementing. In my opinion, doubles, you got the guy who takes the cleanup man. Any high ball points over. That's Yarman. That's Surrey. You got the other guy that keeps the ball low, that keeps the team from getting offensive, that sets up the cleanup guy. I felt like that was Solaris. His return to serves were impeccable. As the season moved on, it gave Surrey a chance to move across, pinch or poach or both. And as time went by, the other teams were living in fear. You know, it's just, even our teams in practice on our own team, they were like, what the heck? These guys are like, you know, this area is like this vacuum cleaner at the net. You know, it's like, it was very impressive because, you know, as I say, doubles is a game that I feel comfortable with, and I'm impressed with the way the guys, you know, if you don't get the ball down low, this guy's going to cut it off. So that's an intimidation factor from the sweetest guy on the squad. You know, he's out there, and that's not a, I'm not going to rank him by sweetness, but anyway. So we had a lot of opinions, but the first match out of the blocks, Surrey and Solaris knocked off Des Moines Valley, the largest high school in the state. You know, perennial power in 2A. They've won multiple state high school 2A championships, had a top 4. I'm not sure they're top 4 but this year, but they're top 4 team perennially with third place. These guys go out and knock them off 6-3, 6-3, and I'm going, I mean, I did a double take. Because in singles, those same two guys, I think they may have played the same, they weren't quite up to their level in singles, but they took them in doubles. So that made an impression on me, and then we come along a couple weeks later, and they win Pella over the 8th finishers last year in state from Pella, and then they beat a nice team from Ottumwa, Zach Ray and his partner, and those guys qualify in 2A, and Zach's a real player, like these guys. And they came back from 3 match points to do it, and I thought, okay, not only can they play, but they can handle adversity. You don't come back from down match point without you know, some fortitude, and they did it. So then I was convinced that these guys got a shot, and they walked through district almost without breaking a sweat. And then the Brain Trust and I met again, and we said, do we seed them 1, or do we not put the target on their back? Because I've been seeded number 1 here and there, and it's great. You know, you're like, hey, you know, I'm good. Whether I win the tournament or not, you know, I'm good. But you know, I don't want guys thinking that, you know, I want them to, you know, get out there and win matches and not think too much about all this stuff that doesn't mean anything. So I had questions in my mind, do we want to see one? But I thought it over and this guy's, his looks are deceiving. He's a very shrewd operator. We're sitting in there watching the French Open in the comfort, in the whatever the country and suites, and we're sitting in there and sipping some, you know, juice, and we're talking it over, and we give each other the logic for number 1 seed, not number 1 seed, and we decided, yeah, there's a reason to do it, so we put the mark on their back and said, oh, let's see what happens. And it didn't bother them, and it didn't go to their head, and it didn't do anything negative for them, and that was a big relief. And they came on and they smoked everybody. Even the moment when they could have had this, what they hit the speed bump in the semifinals, they lost a close first set, 7-5. They may have been, they were up a little bit in the first set. But they bounced back. You know, we got the ship right, and they came back and beat St. Edmunds in 2 convincing sets. And in the finals, my gosh, I've watched them play 50 times, and they never played that well before. And they never played that carefree before, and they never played that much in the zone before, and they won 6-1, 6-1. And, you know, it's like, wow, this is why people play tennis. I mean, like good players say, that's what, you know, I remember when Diarman came back from having won the National Amateur Grass Courts. It was held at the Hall of Fame in Newport, Rhode Island, with a nice stadium. It's a really fancy place, rich folks who have homes on the coast there. And the first thing he said is, Steve, I played in the zone the entire match. I could hit any shot I wanted to hit, anywhere I wanted to hit it. I said, well, you picked a good time for that. Finals are the biggest match of his life. And I really, when I was thinking about what these guys did, I was thinking about what Diarman, how he talked after he got that national championship. And he still got the silver ball. It's really cool. You know, U.S. national, USTA silver ball. And these guys got their medals with, I think, a very similar kind of experience. Am I right? You guys are just like, they didn't do anything tactically strange. They just hit clean balls, clean shots, right shots. And by the end of the match, and these are football players they're playing against that are, you know, kind of pride themselves at the end, on the macho end of the continuum. And these guys were on their heels, and Surrey just hammering balls. Okay, we give up, we say uncle, the white flag was going up about halfway through the second set. So it was domination was the only way I could describe the second leg of our Triple Crown. It was just gorgeous. And Lawrence and I have had a few good chuckles over the Sun Brothers, we're calling them now. They're not Sun Boys, they're Sun Brothers. Because they do like to style. They're stylish guys. How many high school guys do you know that has a BMW? How many high school guys do you know that can do a better impression of Louis Armstrong than Louis Armstrong? You gotta hear Surrey do Louis Armstrong. It's like, have you seen him dance? Yeah, and it goes on and on. I mean, I went to the one act with Solaris. He had this gorgeous girl. So I couldn't even talk if I was up on stage with somebody like that. And he was just going along, doing his speech competition. I thought, this guy can handle pressure. That's pressure. Hit the tennis ball, not pressure. So I reminded him when I got to this later stage of the tournaments, I said, if you guys can sing in front of 100 people, you can handle pressure. I can sing in the shower, no problem. But, they don't have issues. I think I got a little dissent on that comment. You guys have issues? Okay, so that was the second leg of the slam of the crown, Triple Crown. And if you get back from Waterloo, and you've got like 36 hours to turn it around. And they've got to see their friends, and they've got to talk, and they've got to spend some time with their friends. But you just immediately got to turn around and buzz off for Des Moines on Monday after getting back fairly late Saturday night. So it's always a question in the coach's mind: have they already done their best effort? Can they really muster up the effort? Do they care? And so we talked the first day we got there. I said, listen, 3 of you guys got state championships, and 4 of you don't. So the guys who do, would you please get our buddies another title? Because I said, I won't be happy unless every guy has one. So I hope they took it to heart, because I was taking it to heart, and I really believed it, and I thought, it's going to be, I thought magic happened in Waterloo, and I thought, well, if it happens in Waterloo, maybe it can happen in Des Moines. And I woke up feeling exactly the way I felt the morning we woke up in Waterloo. Again, I got Rig in the other bed. He's got the French Open on during my meditation. Sorry. We were just absorbing the professional level of tennis so that we could share it with them. It wasn't that, the mantra is still there, but... I spent 21 years on Perush. I've done a few meditations. It's like one here, one there. It's not like a big deal. So when we got ready to go in the morning, all the things were lining up the way they were lining up in Waterloo, I felt. But you never know. And we got out, we got ready, and we took care of Boone in 68 minutes. And then we went off to Panera's with the girls' team and sat and sipped smoothies with them. It was like, and the other team was out there grinding it out for 4.5 hours against evenly matched opponents. And it was pretty muggy, it was not comfortable weather at that point in the day. And our guys are just relaxing, in a nice restaurant. So, but they were eager. They didn't really like it. They said, "Can't we go back?" And I said, "Yeah, but it's nice here." And so we went back and we saw the end of the Edmonds and Decorah match, which was a dogfight. It was 4-all in the third at 4 points each. One of the Decorah guys missed an easy overhead that pretty much might have cost him the match. And I'm just thinking, this is not really happening, that our opponents are just kind of being worn out by their semifinal opponent. Very grateful because I know Lawrence has said sometimes the opposite has happened, where we've gotten into long dog fights and the other team got the easy route, and it makes a difference in the afternoon. So we went out and warmed up, and I put them through a couple of drills, which I thought would impress St. Edmunds since they were standing right behind the court. And I had to do things that the Bryan brothers do, that you go in opposite directions to get a little sophisticated. And Sam and Chandra put on a good show, and you got to take every advantage you can get. I mean, I am competitive, so anyway. Before I get on to that, Boone's coach came up. This is Coach Jeff Wells. He came up, and he's been through everything that Lawrence has. They've probably been coaching side by side for how many decades? Yeah. So he coached Wells, has had state singles, state doubles, and all the things. And he comes up to me after we beat him 5-0, and he said, Steve, you're not going to believe this. My #1 player wants Sam's autograph. I said, Sam's a stylish player. He's a very cool player. Not everybody can hit a tennis ball the way he does. And he said, yeah. And I told our guy, I said, you know what? If you ask for Sam's autograph, you got to ask for all 6 guys in that team, because every position counts 1 point. You wanted to teach him a lesson. So I thought it was pretty cool. And so Boone was done, and Boone was happy. They were happy, being able to play with guys they wanted to get their autograph from. So we get on to St. Edmunds, and St. Edmunds got their game face on. I don't think they ever take their game face off. It's like, I watched them, and they played in Des Moines Valley. They played last year. I watched them in the individual state, and they just come to play, and they're blue-collar players. And their #2 player missed half the season because he slugged his brother and broke his hand. I mean, I'm serious. I asked him how he broke his hand. I said, you didn't slug your brother, did you? And his doubles friend said, yes, he did. And I thought, I was joking, and they weren't joking. So these guys are, they're nice kids, but they're not our kind of kids. But I didn't want any intimidation factor there, so I told our guys had taken that really away at the individual state, because Surrey and Solaris had beaten their 2 teams and beaten the second team in the finals, convincingly. So I think we had them on the defensive, and our guys went out, and as Lawrence kind of coined the phrase for the day theme is all business, all day. And I don't know if you've used that before, but I used it on the guys, and I know they kind of think us old guys are corny, but that was the formula. Just stick to the job. And they all went out and played beautifully. And not everybody, you can't always conjure up your A game when you want it. And I was quoted in the Courier saying that Rod Laver once said, anybody, you all know Rod Laver, you're old enough to know. Rod Laver's right up there with Pete Sampras and Roger Federer, and maybe better than any of them in his day. He's pretty awesome. So Rod Laver once said, anyone can win with their A game, but how many people can win with their B game? And here's our man Solaris, the most important singles match still on court. He's, I think he's the last match on court. And obviously he wasn't playing quite the way he did in the double state, and it happens. You can't just turn on a switch as an athlete and say, oh, I got my A game. Some of these guys think they can at times. But, you can ask Lawrence, you can ask Jarman, you can ask Tyler, you just can't. But if you're a competitor, it doesn't matter. You're going to say, all right, A game's not there, I can still figure this out. And Solaris didn't have his A game, and maybe he had his solid B game, and he went to it, and he grounded out, and he played what we call, Brad Gilbert calls winning ugly. He just won. And frankly, for me, it was a work of art. That was our point. We get the 4 points, we're up 4-2, we got Slam and Sam coming out with Chandra. It's, I can go home. I don't even have to watch. And, that's how it turned out. So Solaris gets that 4th point in singles. Sam and Chandra step in. It's just, as they say, it's Miller time. Not for you. I have to preface by saying, I haven't been full-time for a while. That doesn't mean anything about anything, but, so we're at floor 2, and we got Sam and Chandra taking care of business, and we win the match 5-2. And it's celebration time, and I would like to let someone else pick it up from there, but I do want to read one thing. This morning I got an email from a wonderful dad from Iowa City West, and Iowa City West is the tennis dynasty in Iowa right now. They've won landslide wins in 3 consecutive team titles, and they're always right at the end in individual singles and doubles. They won, 5 out of the last 10 state championships. They are a dynasty in 2A, and 2A's the bigger schools. So the message went, Steve, I wanted to wish you and your team congratulations for your victory in the state team tennis tourney. You have a wonderful group of young men, and the boys and I have been privileged to have had the opportunity to interact with them both on and off the court. Please be sure to share our happiness with their victories on Saturday. I also wish them continued success, and I hope to see them return to the finals again next year. Thought I might say something about the team's coach, but I think I'll let the boys' performance be the lead story. The future remains very bright for Maharishi School tennis team. Sincerely, David Delos. Now, this is fun for me because when I was coaching at South Park Tennis Club, I think it was 78. Lawrence and I were teaching there in 78, 79. DeArmond came a year later. We had a family deal. And David was one of my students. He was playing for Lawrence's alma mater at the time. And so I got to work with David, an incredibly good human being. And his boys have been part of the mainstays of Iowa City West's dynasty, Adam and Ben. So that's the kind of goodwill that goes back to Lawrence. Lawrence is the architect. Lawrence is Maharishi tennis. This is like, what do they call it, a subnote, or, I'm an English major, what? Footnote. Bingo. I'm a footnote. And, I mean, Umi and I are going to be riding off in the sunset very soon somehow. We just, we're not going to be here 23 years from now, Lawrence. But anyway, the job Lawrence did, the tradition he started, all these records that we hear about, the 3rd Triple Crown, the 10 consecutive Final Fours, the 12 championship matches we played in, the list goes on and on. I don't think there's any school in Iowa that's even close, remotely close to these achievements. And it's just an honor to follow Lawrence in his footsteps. And it's even a cooler thing to have been friends since we were I was 12, you were 18, John was 14, something like that. So it's been a nice kind of full circle, and it's an honor. And I want the boys, I want Luke to have their say. I've been up here quite a while, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. He's my boss. This guy's do this again next year.
So I was really happy to get to be so connected with these guys and Steve, and I think one sentence I could say that could really sum up the heart value of the meaning for me to be assistant coach this year is that I've wanted to be assistant coach since sophomore year. And I was planning on doing it with Mr. Iyer, but he wasn't here this time, so that's the way it worked. But, I had my journey to go through, and 6 years after graduating from high school, I get to be with this crew of incredible guys that have pushed themselves. And I mean, what Steve was saying about being in the van, it's just so much fun to be with these guys all over the place. It's just fun and humor and liveliness, and it's really, really heart-opening for me. And one thing I do want to say is I want to comment about what it was like to work with Steve. And I told him this already. I said, not only have you taught me about being a great tennis coach, but you've taught me about being a man. And And I look up to Steve in every facet of his life. As I'll just leave it at that. I admire him on every level, and it was so nourishing and exciting for me every day to go and just to absorb the wholeness of who he is, as well as the point value of each thing that we were doing. And so I gained a tremendous amount, and I'm much fuller for it. And thank you for everyone who has helped me grow to be who I am, Mr. Iyer, my mom, my dad, all these other people, and the whole community that's given such a place for me to grow into who I am in such a stress-free and holistic way. Thank you.
Folks, the last state champion prior to these last few days was Michelle Punch in 2000. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2014 Class 1A Triple Crown champions. Son, boy number one.
So, Mr. Briggs wasn't actually completely correct. I'm more stressed right now, so bear with me. I'm probably going to say really a lot, and like, those are my two words that I repeat when I'm stressed. You should hear me when I'm on the court. I just say, come on, hit a better shot. That was really, really, really bad. Like, how could you do that? But anyway, I mumbled that. Right before I talk about our team, I just want to talk about Mr. Briggs, who's helped me so much with doubles. Mr. Briggs, you're amazing, and I love you. And also, my dad and mom. My dad is, he pushes me quite hard, and I mean, like, if we had a microphone on him, we could have some insane bloopers up here. Like, really amazing bloopers. And, he's been my best coach, because he's pushed me to be the best I can be in all aspects of my life, and I really appreciate that. And I don't think I stress enough how much I love him, because I really do. My mom cooks the best food. So anyway, Mr. Briggs, this year has been amazing. Not just because, we won everything, but also because usually, when I'm playing tennis and I'm getting coached, I'm like, okay, I have to tweak my stroke like this a little bit. I have to do this, hit up more on the ball, or mostly hit through on the ball. And Surya, stop trying to hit tweeners. But, okay, Mr. Briggs said that once, but I had a hurt back, so that's all right. And Mr. Briggs just told me, Surya, there's the like. Be yourself. Play the way you play, and stop hitting those underspin shots. They go out wide every time. But I mean, he made me the tennis player I am, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. You're never going to hear the Louis Armstrong impression. Don't even. I can't. For my team is the best team in all of Iowa. I think, well, I mean, So, So, I've had the best year of tennis. I mean, I was captain of these guys, but I really didn't feel like captain. I felt like, Surya, stop talking. And mostly that's what it was. And, I mean, all of the players have been playing together. There hasn't been individual matches. There's been team matches which we just happen to be on different courts at the same time. And I mean, they're part of me basically. They make up the heart and soul of this team because you know they're the players. But they're amazing. I couldn't ask for better people. And really quickly about Solaris, we're not actually married. We're not actually married. There's no rings. There was no celebration. He's got a girlfriend. So, I mean, but playing doubles with Solaris was amazing. It was an amazing experience, and I hope to do it again. Probably not in this high school, hopefully. Because, you know, graduation and everything. But anyway, thank you. And thank you, fans. You guys were amazing.
I'm a little shorter than Surya. That's why I'm the steady player, not the person who puts things away. But yeah, I just want to say a little bit about Surya and I's journey through the season. It started out kind of rough, I must admit. I was worried for a while. At first, for the longest time, I was deciding whether I wanted to play singles or doubles. And I am so glad that I chose to play doubles, because every moment on court with Surya has just been amazing. And we started off a little rough, but as the season came nearer to the end, we just started playing like some of the best tennis I've played, some of the best tennis he's played. His serve just makes the other teams cringe and want to go home like immediately the second they see it. So that's like good to like just beat them down before we've even like played anything. So yeah, every moment's been awesome. So thank you, Surya, for I don't know why I was chosen to speak, but Mom and Dad, but specifically Mom, because she's been the one behind the scenes always pushing me to play tennis and be better, and I just really have appreciated how much she's actually given up for my development as both a person and my tennis game. And there was times when I even wanted to quit playing tennis, but she wouldn't let that happen, and I'm glad. So thank you, Mom. I love you. I love you, Dad. There'll be more to come with senior speeches in like 2 days, but yeah. Steve Briggs, I love you so much. You're an amazing coach. You're awesome. We say like totally inappropriate things and you just laugh. You're just the best coach. All right. That's all. So much has been covered so far. I don't know what to say, but I think one of the main points that Steve already covered was that we're all just basically a family. Like every weekend we're hanging out together. It's not just tennis. We're always seeing each other. We're all best friends, and even in the car rides, Steve, you're listening to all of our not so appropriate things, so, as well as Luke. So we're all super comfortable together, and yeah, we're always like singing and stuff before matches, so we're pretty close, like you could say. I don't know, I guess my parents, my mom, my dad, my mom always there for me every step of the way. If I anything I need, she's always there just to hand it to me. The excessive amount of bananas, always there, always ready inside the court, always has recharge, Gatorade, all that stuff. So thank you for that. I love you. And my dad,
he lives in Maryland, but he came out to support me for state, and he's always been there, and it really helped me, I think, my game with him there watching, and yeah. And the fans, obviously, thank you guys so much. I don't know what else to say.
We were in the restaurant last night, and I said one thing we have to do tomorrow night is make sure that we thank all the other coaches that have helped these guys through the years. And the guy started to list those, and Luke even wrote it down and sent it to me, and I misplaced it. So I'm going to ask you guys to rekindle that list now. But I know that Tyler and Kyle were both among those, so Tyler, thank you for all of it.
Yeah, that would include Chris Armstrong and Steve Yellen and Clint Stevens and Kyle and Tyler. It would include DeArmond, of course, and Brendan. Yeah, Brendan Higgins. You know, he started working with a lot of the kids before school. And, you know, total out of dedication, incredible thing. Clint was meant, yeah. Clint. Rick Troutman, yeah. Chan, yeah. Charlie Darley. Wow, we got a long list of people who really, and these are not fly-by-night instructors. These guys are at the top of their field, and how they all end up in Fairfield is the same reason everyone else has ended up here. I didn't, go around through all the team, and I want to just take this moment and mention what an incredible human being Garindra is. You know, he's just like, this guy is the mouthpiece of the team. I thought whenever this team needed a dose of confidence, I just flipped the switch and Garindra took over, and it was a done deal. This guy, he made Sam a bigger believer in himself, and I think that had that influence on a lot of guys. So a shout out for Garindra and his presence and his intelligence, articulateness. This guy's going to do something pretty cool. Chandray, affectionately now called Chava, with the Arabian Dew. The guy's the youngest guy on the team. He's really come into his own and in the zone. He lost one game in each of the final 2 rounds at state at number 2. I don't think he had more than a couple unforced errors in either match. And I didn't even bother to go out and say, hey, do you need this or that? I just said, this guy's got it under control. And there are other matches that they do need a little assistance. Chandray didn't, so why bother him? The guy he takes Steve Yellen to heart and says, "Hey, I got to do number 7 to get in the zone," and he does it. So a shout out for Chandray, who really. I call Chandray a money player. I mean, we're amateurs here, but Chandray's a money player. You got to have a match. I wouldn't mind having him play if my life was on the line. He'd be a good one to pick because he doesn't get rattled. And he's the youngest guy in our squad. So then we've got Dave Fleshman. Dave's uncle and I were on Purusha for 21 years, and Hinton's a dear friend of mine. We shared dormitories and traveled around the world together, and so I always had a soft spot for Dave for that, and I got to teach him some private lessons when he was in junior and middle school. And Dave is probably the most sincere and sensitive guy on the team to a fault at times, but you know what? He got out there, and we just talked for a moment before the match, and he hadn't had any postseason experience to speak of. Played beautifully on Saturday. He was out there, he was whipping up on the Boone guy, and he was coming to the net and putting volleys away like a guy with a lot more experience than he has would do. So, Dave stepped up, and every guy stepped up. So, a shout out for our man. best one-liners this year. He had about 8 out of 10, maybe, maybe more than that. He's been an absolute delight. I found out that the guy that Avery played last year in the state Final Four, Jackson Takes from Dubuque Wahlert, Avery would nip and tuck with him. It had a lead late in the third set, and the guy kind of poured it on. Nothing we could really do to stop the guy. The guy ends up playing this year #1 for Dubuque Wahlert, ahead of a guy named Cam Long, the #2 player, who happened to end up finishing 3rd in the state tournament this year. So, we're a deep team. And it's one of the hardest things in a coach's coaching position to say, you're playing 6, you're not. I just hate making that decision. I really don't like that decision, and I'll say it a third time. I just don't like that situation. But, that's part of the deal. So, shout out for Avery for an really fine career and fine contribution every day in the last 2 years that I've coached, and I love the guy. So, thanks.
Coaches and players and everyone, just a couple of last closing things and one more group up here. We've in recognizing the trajectory of our program, one thing that it's always maintained is a high level of sportsmanship, and I just want to congratulate the guys on continuing that. It's the kind of the buzz that you hear from people at these matches. They like playing against our guys. They like you as people. They like you as sportsmen. So coaches and players both, thanks for maintaining that pioneer tradition. The last thing that I'd like to do is a kind of a symbolic gesture, and that is to have the boys appreciated by members of the community. Because again, not only with the coaches and the amazing job that the parents have done, the community members also have been supporting these teams in so many ways. A big delegation came all the way up to Des Moines to watch them. I think before we do that, though, let us really single out the parents. Because I said about 10 times to people, to Dorian Punge and to many of our other parents, you guys must have cast iron stomachs. Sit through these matches, the tension that there is. And it's, as Tyler, when we were talking, he said it's a lot harder sitting there watching than it was playing. And so, parents, congratulations and thank you for all of your efforts. So, to conclude the evening, I would like to ask on behalf of the Board of Directors and the City of Fairfield if we could have Mayor Ed Malloy come up, and then representing our Board of Directors, Peter Huggins, Shelley Gradson, Shelley's still here, and Mark Freeman. Oh no, please, yeah, thanks. So would the board members come up and just say a word to the team?
Congratulations, team. Congratulations, coaches. Remarkable, remarkable accomplishment. We are just all in awe of what it is that you did, and to hear the story of how you accomplished it tonight is something that's very, very gratifying. I think we all take a piece of that deep appreciation for how you did it with such style and such a camaraderie, which is what the real value of sports is. So thank you very, very much. And I also just want to mention also, I know that in the company of all of the constellation of awards and stars that is the Maharishi tennis program, state championships are rare. They are very, very rare. And for a community, we really swell with pride in this accomplishment. And we don't take it for granted. We recognize that what you've done is also for yourself and for your teammates, for your coaches, but it's also very much representative of our whole community. So we're very, very proud of you tonight. We take this as a very special moment, very special occasion, and congratulate you very much. I was fortunate enough to be at the singles and doubles finals and also the team finals. My daughter happens to be interested in one of the players, but that's another story. But there is a phenomenon that happens at these events, and the people that were there really realize the phenomenon, and it's the power of Maharishi School. And it's this saying, "Go Maha," and it started, I don't know, the last couple of years, but that would be the cheer from the stands, "Go Maha," in the middle of a tense point. And someone stopped, from another town and asked, "What does Go Maha mean?" It says, "Go Maharishi." And you have this feeling of the longevity of our program and the power behind it. Because we move as a force. When we show up, when the boys show up, and then the entourage shows up, and then the entourage of the entourage shows up, there's this whole sense. We know tennis. This community knows tennis. We have this foundation behind us of all the great coaches that have come before, and that tradition. And it really is something to witness when you're there and to see the power of it. And I think it's nice to have it rekindled, where we're at a triple crown, and it's been a while, and to get that tradition going again. So I feel privileged to just be here when it was all happening. So congratulations.
I just want to say one quick word about Dr. Richard Bell and the support that he provides for the entire school and the foundation that he provides for the sports in general. And I know that he was the original pioneer, and he was the original person fighting for our sports programs, and we all owe him a huge debt of gratitude for the foundation that he's laid for this school.
I was thinking back in 1972 when I first heard about Fairfield, and we were living in California, and I told my wife, I'm going to be the last meditator in California. I've never moved into that place in Iowa. And we came to Taste of Utopia course, and we came here, we brought our 3 kids here, and they all went through the school, and I want to tell you, I always think, do you think Maharishi knew what he was doing? And I think he did, and you guys are the result of that, and it's going to been a great tradition, and it's going to continue. And I've seen a lot of the alumni around the country. I've been traveling around seeing the alumni, and they still remember, they still love Fairfield, they don't come back often, but they still love the school and have good memories of the school. And I know 4 of you guys are graduating? 5 graduating. Come back, visit us, no matter where you are, what you do, we're going to love you forever, and be good, and congratulations.
I don't want to get greedy, but we've never had a quad. And on Tuesday of next week, Sam and Dia Huggins are going to be playing in the mixed doubles tournament here in state. Chandra and Jackie. So we wish it well, and I think, again, what means so much is we've done this in the right way. As a school, as sportsmen, as athletes, we're very proud of that. And this is a platform for these guys for the rest of their lives, as seniors, as they leave us, and we know they do well. And I just want to echo Mark's words. Congratulations, guys. This is home. It always will be. Congratulations. Thank you very much, everyone.